I'm just going to say it. We are never getting rid of deep fakes. And I think that's honestly the truth. I'm Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic, and let's dive in. Now, there's a really good write up on this in The Guardian by Priya Barardia and Aisha Down. And quite frankly, we're going to start there. But I do have a lot of thoughts on this. And if you didn't know, millions of people around the world have created and shared deep fake nudes on the secure messaging app Telegram. That's according to a Guardian analysis. And basically this is coming because of the spread of advanced AI tools as it's industrializing essentially deepfakes online, not to mention the abuse of women, even men, and everybody else. Now, The Guardian identified at least 150 Telegram channels. Basically, these are large encrypted group chats that are popular for their secure communications that essentially appear to have users from countries all over the world. We're talking the United Kingdom, Brazil, China, Nigeria, Russia, India, and on and on and on. Some of them are offering nudified photos or videos for a fee. So basically, you could upload a video of any woman, for example, and the AI will produce a video that basically has her performing sex acts or just making her nude, all these different kinds of things. Others offer a feed of images like celebrities, social media influencers, just, ordinary women in this case, essentially turning them nude, making them perform sexual acts. Again, the AI obviously generating all of this. Now, followers are using the channels to share tips also on available deepfake tools. And while there's basically been Telegram channels that have been dedicated for quite some time to distributing non consensual nude images of women, now with the availability, and it is a widespread availability of AI tools, means that essentially anybody can instantly become the subject of graphic sexual content that could potentially be viewable by millions. I mean, it was a great write up. They had more in this, but let's dive in because the crux of this problem, and that is just one subset of the deepfake issue that we have. That's just the latest generation, is we're seeing nudes everywhere. Grok, which is XAI, X, aka Twitter, aka Elon Musk, has a massive problem with this. They're just being looked at now by multiple countries, including the EU, Canada, and others. But this goes above and beyond that because deep fakes have been around long before this new generation problem. And so here's why I think it's unfortunately a fact. And we are never getting rid of this. Because if you think about it, the same advances in machine learning that power this kind of fraud also underpin the legitimate tools that we would use for things like film production, accessibility, education, marketing, even visualization in the sciences uses these kinds of tools. Generative models are becoming cheaper, they're becoming faster, they're more widely embedded into everyday software, oftentimes running locally on your computer, meaning you don't have to go to the cloud to generate a lot of these things. And I went looking to see if I could find offline image generators, and I found a ton. I'm not listing any of them here for obvious reasons. Now, once a capability basically becomes decentralized and therefore has that dual use, legitimate or criminal, it can't really meaningfully be removed, right? Because you would also be dismantling the broader digital ecosystem that it depends on it. If you can't use it in crime because we are basically regulating it away, we also then couldn't use it for things like film production, legitimate film production. Even aggressive regulation can only shape how deep fakes are used or labeled. It cannot erase the underlying techniques or the countless open source implementations already distributed globally. The Chinese had a shot across the bow the other year with DeepSeek for large language models, a chat GPT, etc. competitor that you could download and run yourself. It was a huge problem. I did videos and segments on it, not to mention its censorship and bias and all of that. But going back to deep fakes, on top of all of this that I just said, the internet itself is optimized for replication, anonymity, and speed rather than enforcement of laws or even simply the truth. Content can be created in one country and then it can be hosted in another country. It can be mirrored instantly somewhere else, and then it can be shared millions of times before any kind of moderation or legal response is possible. It's the same issue with disinformation. A ton of people read disinformation, think it's true. You believe that confirmation bias, and when the traditional news media essentially catches up to fact check it and say it's fake, how many people get that memo? And the originators of that deep fake are almost never held accountable at all. Oftentimes, they're not even in the country. On top of this, Detection tools will continue to improve, but so will evasion techniques. This is cybersecurity 101. So it creates a permanent arms race, just like cybersecurity, where perfect prevention is simply not possible. Statistically, operationally, it's just not possible. And basically, as long as there are incentives, whatever those incentives are, think like political influence, financial fraud, harassment, entertainment, even notoriety. I mean, people just want to be internet famous, right? There will always be people willing to produce and distribute deep fakes for whatever reason that is, whether they're nude or making, the president of the United States do something he didn't say or do. All of these things we've seen countless times over the years in the AI era. So, what chance do we really have here? And I think we have one slight, maybe, chance because I think there is a realistic goal. And it's not elimination. We're never going to eliminate this, but it could be resilience. But it's going to take all of us, I think, working together. So if we're building things like social, legal, and technical systems that can do things like reduce harm and establish accountability, maybe help people navigate the digital environment where basically what they're seeing is no longer synonymous with believing, aka educating on deep fakes, educating on the problems that these are. Finland actually did this, and I believe it was their 2017 election to great effect, where they're able to cut through the massive amount of Russian disinformation hitting their election system, and basically the guy backed by the Russians didn't win. Right? They taught their country how to spot deep fakes, how to spot fake news. That's our only shot. I don't see it being realistically possible, at least right now, at least in the United States and some other places. But I guess that's our only hope. So deep fakes aren't going away. It's only going to get worse. And unfortunately, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but it's here to stay. And I think we've got to deal with this. We've got to address this. And most importantly, we've got to teach the next generation why it's wrong. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, please, please attempt to stay private, informed, and secure. Take care.